Hello, Facebook family. Glad you all could join us for our last hour of Prime Conversations for Amazon Live. And I'm so excited to be having my first face-to-face conversation with someone who's not only a repeated guest on Conversations Live, the radio show, but someone who I'm glad to call a friend. Author Jodi Lea Stewart is with us to kick off this next hour. We have three great guests that are coming up, but Jodi's someone that's very special to me. She was just sharing with me she's working on book number 7 right now. She's been very busy. And I remember our very first conversation together, the last one on the radio, was just 2 years ago. We'll talk to Jodi not only about the journey, but when we connect to Amazon, we'll also let you all know how you can get your copies of her books. Jodi, really appreciate your being on with us.
Well, I'm so excited. I can barely sit here. I thought I might do a little dance, but I'll try to stay in the chair.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and join our Amazon family. Give us our countdown. And we are live with Amazon Live here for our Prime Conversations as you guys are enjoying some of the great Prime deals that are all over Amazon.com. I'm going to be sharing some of them a little bit later myself from some of the companies that I'm working with. But we don't want you guys to forget books, which is why the past 2 days we've been having some extraordinary authors joining us to remind you not only about their stories for yourself, but also books that you can share with others as well. I'm kicking off this next segment with someone who I've known for years. She's been a repeated guest on Conversations Live, the radio show, but she's making her very first on-camera appearance with us here on Cyrus Webb Presents. Jodi Lea Stewart is an author who I love. I love her stories, the way she's able to take us to different places. We'll talk to her not only about the journey they're doing what she loves, but you guys will also see her books featured in the carousel below. Jodi, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited to be here, Cyrus. I've been nervous about it, which makes it more fun. So we can giggle as we go along, and that'll take care of it.
Well, anybody who knows me, Jodi, knows that I'm good for a good giggle. So I think we have it covered between the two of us. But Jodi, I'm so excited about this. And this is one of the interviews, honestly, and I've interviewed a lot of people, as you know. I've been looking forward to this conversation with you this week, because it is our very first time. And I just want to, first of all, before we get into the interview, I want to say thank you to you, because you have been such a supporter of Conversations Live, the radio show, Conversations, the magazine. And that means more to me than you could ever know. And from your sharing your pictures with the magazine, from your being able to share different conversations that I've been able to have, that support definitely has meant a lot as we have grown over the years. So I just wanted you to know personally from me in front of the world, how much I appreciate you.
Oh, you're more than welcome, because you've been a star in my eyes from the first time you ever interviewed me. My first book wasn't even quite out, which you didn't know. It was coming out the next month. Yeah. And you have been so encouraging to me and such a star in my eyes. And I'm not surprised about your success at all, Cyrus.
Well, thank you so much. Well, let's talk about you now. That's enough about me. Let's talk about you, because as I was just sharing with our audience on Facebook, and I want to let our audience on Amazon Live know, Jodi was just sharing with me, she's working on book number 7. So I want to ask you, Jodi, as people are looking in the carousel there, one of my favorite books of you, I have it right here, The Accidental Road. We're going to be talking about the book Triumph here a little bit later, but also another one of my favorites, Blackberry Road. You are not afraid, Jodi, to tackle some pretty interesting topics in your books. You're able to talk about race. You're able to talk about justice and injustice, but also family and forgiveness. What has it been like for you to kind of craft these stories and to tell these different stories from book to book?
Well, I guess you have to go to one's personal belief in life to answer that. And my motto in life has always been triumph over adversity. And is there anything greater triumph than someone to overcome prejudice or to fight prejudice or be in the midst of it? So it's been my life feeling that I have to have justice, and it's not right to be judged by a person's religion, what they believe, or their race. And so I guess those stories come to me from that basis. And then my motto also is to leave footprints that matter. And whether you're an artist or an electrician or a writer of books, you should leave footprints that matter. So that's where I come from, writing these stories.
I love that, Jodi, and I love the way that you phrase that. So I'll have to ask you then, kind of going with what you just said, When did you realize that your voice mattered? In the book Blackberry Road, we're able to see that a person, no matter what their age is, or how people may perceive them, how they can make a difference. When did you know that by using your voice that you could make a difference?
Well, it wasn't when I was young because I've always been a little outspoken. I bet you can believe that. But I never got involved in a lot of I don't know, contradictory things until I got into parenting. And of course, I've raised two children and another one, and now we got a 2-year old running around. So we've had a lot of kids around and through our lives through the years. And you watch these children go from little babies into young people and into adults, and you want the best for them. And you begin to stand up. At that time, that's when I began to stand up. I had always had a heightened sense of right and wrong. I mean, ask my mother. I used to boss her around. Mama, you shouldn't do this. Mama, don't do that. Mama, Mama, put this back. I was a little neat nut. And, but I had never really gotten involved so much in issues until was a parent. And then becoming a grandparent made it even worse. But I began to work. I went back to college as an adult. I didn't finish when I went. So I went back to college and got my degree in business management when I was in my 40s. Well, right away, I took a journalism course, and he fell in love with my writing and made me a campus editor. Well, I got some power with that. I was like, everything I write, somebody's laughing or saying, "Yeah, I agree with that," or and I guess that's when it really developed as I began to write and connect my feelings with that.
I never knew that story, Jodi. I appreciate you sharing that. But you know what? It kind of ties into the books that I mentioned here, Blackberry Road, The Accidental Road, because you have characters there that are strong-willed, that are opinionated, but they're still human. They're flawed and they're real. Do you think that those are kind of the ingredients you've been able to wove from book to book that makes readers fall in love with the characters?
I think it is because we as humans are so flawed and so imperfect, and we all strive so hard to be accepted and to be loved. But sometimes we have obstacles in front of our very faces that we can't seem to knock away until we actually change. And so, yeah, it does come from true life experiences and just somehow getting out there the feeling that we're not perfect, but we are human. And if people can just accept us and we can accept them, we're going to conquer anything. I mean, even sickness and death. We're going to die, but we're still going to do it with dignity.
I love that. Love the theme, and I love too as I kind of reflect on the books that I've read of yours, Jodi, over the years. Even when we first talked, that you have been able to weave in some history, also. I think in your books, also heritage is a big part of some of your stories that you tell, and I think it's one thing for someone to read a book. It's another thing for them to see themselves in the book, to see themselves in the pages. What has that been like for you to give readers that gift? And I call it a gift because, I know, growing up from where I grow up, that not all stories I read about Mississippians are positive. But I'm so appreciative of people sharing other elements of this state and of the place that I call home. What has that been like for you in telling the stories that you've told, Jodi, to be able to show there's more to these people and these places that may meet the eye?
Well, it goes along with my positive theme in life, and you understand that you're a very positive person who has suffered through many things. And I think we who do go through a lot have a lot of adversity and come out on the other side of each thing. I think it changes us in that how we express ourselves and also how we accept other people. So I try to get that into the characters. And we haven't talked about Triumph yet, but that one in particular, that book, pardon me, was my desire to show characters having to come face to face with themselves. You can just roll along just fine with all your bigotry or preconceived ideas, but what happens when you meet you? And that's what I tried to do in the books.
Yeah, Triumph is definitely a great book. We're going to get into that. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you are watching Prime Conversations here on Amazon Live. Excited to welcome my friend, author Jodi Lea Stewart, to our program today. Jodi's making her first on-camera interview with us, and really appreciate her talking with us not only about her literary journey, but also how she's become the person and the writer that she is. If you guys are watching us on Amazon, you will notice highlighted in the carousel at the bottom of the screen is the book, The Exit on the Road. Again, one of my favorites of Jodi. But Jodi's written so many great books. She referenced Triumph. We're about to get into that. I want to also say for those who are tuning in on Amazon Live, if you guys have not done so already, I really appreciate you guys following us here. That way you can stay updated with all the great programming that we have. We have 4 shows here on Amazon Live. You can just click up in this corner to be able to follow us. If you're joining us on the desktop or the laptop, if you're joining us on mobile device, you can find it down below, as well as the carousel that we're talking about. So, Jodi, let's talk about Triumph. And I think it's an interesting connection with Triumph and Blackberry Road, ironically, in that you're able to tie in these themes of people coming together, people overcoming their differences, but also realizing what is possible. So let's talk about how it all began. How did the book Triumph first come to you?
Wow. Pardon me. Triumph started when I was in kindergarten because for 1 year, my mother and 3 children, me being the baby, we lived in St. Louis. And during that year, I kept getting in trouble because I kept having friends who were not white like me. Pardon me. The 1954 Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka had happened a few years before that, I don't know how many, some years, 5. And some of the schools in St. Louis were on the cutting edge of practicing what they were being preached about. In other words, they were not allowing segregation. So I didn't know the difference. People were fun and happy and everything. Well, I just gravitated right to them, and then I kept getting in trouble for it. So that made me very angry inside because I couldn't control it. I couldn't change it. I just had to be what they wanted me to be. So that little spark stayed with me forever. It's still there. I'm still mad about that. I had friends. And so I would guess that it began there. And the journey to triumph it's really my heart. That book is so much my heart because I wanted to show folks of different color, of different socioeconomic level, of different backgrounds, and see that they all hurt, they all have pain, they all have dreams, they all have decisions to make, how much we're all really alike. We're not different. And yet we are so unique that it keeps everything interesting. And that's really what started Triumph for me.
Jodi, I can ask you this question, and it's one that I have not asked anyone in the 20 authors that I've had over the past 2 days now, because no one has written about these topics like you have that I've talked to over the past couple of days. But the reason I drew the connection between Blackberry Road and Triumph is this. Does it surprise you that in 2021, we are still having some of the same conversations about race and injustice and prejudice that we see in books like Triumph and Blackberry Road?
It shocks me. I just feel like whooping everybody and saying, let's grow up and go forward. Knock it off. This is not us. This is not us. Let's stop it. Yes, it shocks me to death and it's disturbing and it hurts. I don't want it to be that way. And so I guess I'll just have to keep writing these things because the pain I feel about all that inside, the only thing I know to do about it is create a novel. Because, I mean, you can live your life and be the example, but you can't change the world totally, can you? But you can try one person at a time. And I guess that's kind of what I do. I am shocked about it. Yes.
Jodi, I'm so glad you said that because that is my mantra. I have told people I'm not Superman. I'm short. I'm a Southerner. And no Clark Kent.
We're not going to talk size here.
Yeah. I think, but what I have learned and what I now embrace and try to harness in a positive way is my personal power. And I love the fact that what you just said, and I hope our audience got that when you see something, your way of addressing it is in your books. So
Mm.
you're able to entertain us, but also to get us to thinking. So when you have readers that get it, because Triumph has won awards, been recognized,
Mhm.
when you have readers that get that these are not only great stories, but these are great lessons. How does that make you feel as an author?
Well, it doesn't make me feel like a teacher. It makes me feel more like a philosopher, as though I would like to go up on a mountain, like Sermon on the Mount, and I have my megaphone and I go, "Well done, well done. Let's keep it up. Let's do more." That's how it makes me feel.
So I want to talk to you about courage in the middle of that because you are in a business. I'm in a
Right.
business.
Right.
And in business, people are always, aware of the fact that not everyone's going to like everything, and that's fair enough.
Hmm.
But also in business, people will tell you, well, don't do this or don't do that because you're going to alienate this person, you're going to alienate this group.
Hmm.
What has given you the courage to do it anyway? Because you could very easily write something else, right? But what gives you the courage to write what you write unapologetically?
I guess the basic of that is good over bad, good over evil. I believe in the right thing, and I believe people should do the right thing. And if you have it presented to you in this way, maybe you'll see it. Or if you have it presented in that way through the eyes of somebody who was younger, older, different color, different circumstances, different level of money, perhaps then you will get it. And that's exactly how I feel about that.
As you are embarking on book 7, Jodi, of this journey, are there things that you look forward to doing differently, or do you think you have found the formula that works for Jodi Lea Stewart?
I think I have found the formula. I deviated greatly when wrote Triumph. I took on a lot of things that many authors won't. I did different storylines, different timelines, different voices, all in the same novel. I felt like I was a juggler with all of these things. And then I felt like I was a mad scientist in that I worked in the lab and I did data research and I did this and that. And then I spilled the whole concoction out there in the Louisiana swamps and in New Orleans and St. Louis, Texas, to see, does this work? And what I found out was something interesting for myself was that I had to continually be an analyzer of my own pockets of prejudice, whether they're, everyone has them. Little, they may be big, but somewhere along the line you've become bigoted, prejudiced against, a gender or a color or a belief. And I had to analyze that about myself in order to be true to what I was writing. So I took that on and loved it. And everyone who has read it loved that. I was afraid at first, like they're going to get confused. They're not going to know what's happening because I'm jumping around. But I tried very hard to keep it extremely cohesive at the same time. And then, of course, at the end, I bring it together. But I love that so much that my 7th book is also written mostly in that style. And I'm loving it. It's another historical fiction, by the way.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that because, but I want to talk about the words you just used. I love that phrase, pockets of prejudice.
Mhm.
That is something that is something to think about, Jodi, because you're right. We all do have them.
Yes.
I'm an Android user, but I don't necessarily shun people who are not Android users, as some
Right.
people who are the other thing do Android users.
Right. Look at that. No, that's not prejudice.
but but I mean I love that wording because I mean it is something that we all have to look at, right? And we all do have our own
Yes.
biases. So I want to ask you this last thing because you and I have not discussed this, so I'm curious because I don't know the answer to it. The past year was challenging for so many people. It definitely, I think, changed the way we saw the world and maybe even our place
Mhm.
in the world and what we could do in the world. What do you feel like you took away from 2020 that you're using moving forward?
Appreciation of the more simple things, just getting to go over and visit someone or go to a restaurant. It became like crucially crazy not to be able to go to the store. You couldn't buy toilet paper. What? I mean, what are we back in the dark ages here? Corn husk time or what? So, did we lose you? Hello? Are you back?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
I was just saying we were going to have to go to corn husk when we lost our toilet paper.
Yeah.
That was a great moment.
Yeah.
But it changed the appreciation level for me. So many smaller things that I just was kind of, I think all of us were. It was wonderful just to get to go back out to a restaurant, go over and visit someone, talk to your neighbor. Nobody's covering up their faces. And yeah, it did that. As far as my work schedule, it did nothing because I always am on that keyboard or on in a book creating. So that way it was different. Not different.
Yeah. It's funny you just said that because Kathy, hello, Kathy. Kathy's watching us on Amazon Live. Kathy asked, did the pandemic affect her writing productivity? Did you find that you wrote less, or it was, as you were just saying, was it pretty much
More.
consistent? Oh,
More.
more. Oh,
More.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I couldn't do was go to a library. So I bought a lot of books off of Amazon to help with my research for this particular book I'm doing right now, especially. Oh my goodness, I have a stack about like this. No, like this, because I couldn't go to the library. So Amazon got an awful lot of book business from me this past year. So it did do that.
Well, look, I think they appreciate that, Jody, and I think you're not alone. I think they got a lot from a lot of people, as we want them to do today, because I want them to get a
Yes.
Jodi Lea Stewart book for sure. Now, I'm gonna be partial.
Oh,
I have
okay.
a pocket of prejudice here, Jody, because if someone were to ask me,
You like
what
that phrase.
I do, I love that. So if someone were to ask me, Cyrus, what book would you start off with? I'm going to tell them, and you tell me if you would agree with me, Jody. I would say Blackberry Road. What would you say?
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And it's also available on it's Audible also. It's not just print
Oh,
and ebook. It's also an Audible. And I've had a lot
awesome.
of good reaction from that. I would start with that one because I
Mhm.
think in that one is the basics of everything that I write also.
Yeah. Yeah. My close second would definitely be Triumph. My third would be The Exit on the Road. I
Okay.
would have said Exit on the Road would have been my second before Triumph. But now Triumph is definitely my close second.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Again, everyone, Jodi Lea Stewart has been our guest. Jody, look at that. We got through a whole 25-minute segment.
And we
Uh,
only had one sort of laugh attack, and that was good for us.
well, actually, I have to be transparent with you, Jody. I was giving you a close up. I did that on purpose.
Oh, oh, oh my gosh, was my hair okay?
I was giving you a close up, but then when you thought something happened, I came back because I was like, I didn't want you to think I lost you.
Yeah, at my Cornhusk moment too.
Yeah. So we definitely invite our audience. Click below on the carousel on Amazon Live to be able to enjoy a book by Jodi Lea Stewart. We have highlighted right there Triumph, but definitely, as I said, if you're just now finding out about her, I think Blackberry Road is a great book. There's so many great messages in that book, and you're going to fall in love with our protagonist there, I think, as well. But all of her books are really good, so definitely check those out. And Jody, how else can I stay connected with you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
And I said, how else can they stay connected with you?
Oh, you can stay connected on my website. It's just jodileastewart.com, and I spell both of them kind of differently. So Jodilea Stewart, STEWART.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on About Me. About.me/Jodi Lea Stewart is a really good little thing to look at. But I'm not as tech as I should be, I guess, and he knows that. But I'm trying to do Instagram. But mostly I'm on all of that. If you go to my website, you'll see how to get me.
Well, Jodi, you have been amazing today, and see you. I mean, you were worried for nothing. See, I mean,
Oh, I
you
always
were
worry.
well. You were great. You were great. It was
Oh,
great to be able to connect with you, Jodi. And it goes without saying, you welcome back here anytime. Looking forward to having you back.
oh, thank you so much. I loved it, and I love talking to you,
Thank
Cyrus.
you.
Thank
I
you. Have a great
appreciate
day. God
you as
bless.
well, Jodi. Appreciate that. Again, everyone, Jodi Lea Stewart was our guest. Make sure you guys are staying connected with her, as well as clicking below in the carousel on Amazon Live to be able to enjoy some great books from her.